Nobody was prepared for the moment this story detonated, because what looked like family tension suddenly exploded into a full-blown celebrity catastrophe. Whispers that once lived in private group chats and late-night phone calls allegedly spilled into the open like gasoline on a live wire. Sources claim a single emotional live stream cracked open years of buried resentment, financial secrets, and silent betrayals no one was supposed to see. The name Towanda Braxton began trending not because of music or nostalgia, but because something far darker was allegedly exposed. Within minutes, fans noticed Tamar Braxton's old warnings suddenly sounded less like drama and more like prophecy. An alleged ex-husband's voice entered the chaos, dripping with receipts, resentment, and statements that felt rehearsed but dangerously specific. Leaked messages began circulating online, allegedly showing private conversations that contradicted years of carefully curated public narratives. Every refresh of social media delivered a new shock, a new accusation, or a new clip that made the situation feel irreversible. Insiders claim this wasn't a random meltdown, but the collapse of a long-simmering family alliance held together by silence. Fans watching in real time described the energy shift as chilling, like witnessing something that was never meant to surface. Alleged secret recordings were hinted at but not played, creating a suspense so thick it felt intentional. Celebrity friends began reacting with vague posts, deleted tweets, and cryptic emojis that only fueled speculation further. Behind the scenes, sources say panic calls were made, damage control plans were drafted, and trust disintegrated by the second. The most disturbing part wasn't what was said, but what was implied, suggesting this was only the beginning. And just when viewers thought they understood the story, a final statement dropped that reframed everything and left everyone frozen. The night everything imploded allegedly began as a casual live stream that no one expected to survive the hour. Viewers tuned in thinking they were about to hear recycled family tension dressed up as healing language. Instead, the atmosphere reportedly felt brittle, like glass stretched too thin under a spotlight. Towanda appeared calm on screen, but insiders later claimed her composure was already unraveling. Her ex-husband sat just off frame, silent long enough to make audiences uneasy. The chat moved fast, hearts flooding the screen, unaware of what was about to be detonated. When he finally leaned in, his voice was measured, almost rehearsed, which made it terrifying. He allegedly said he was done lying to protect a narrative that had cost him everything. That single sentence shifted the energy so violently viewers claimed they felt it through their phones. Towanda smiled tightly, the kind of smile people use when panic starts winning. Fans immediately sensed Tamar's name hovering over the moment like a ghost. The ex-husband allegedly accused the family of confusing loyalty with silence. He claimed certain truths were buried not for healing, but for control. Screenshots began appearing online within minutes, supposedly pulled from years of private messages. Another appeared to show him replying that the brand was built on lies. Viewers noticed Towanda adjusting in her seat as if trying to ground herself. The live chat erupted with accusations, prayers, and demands for receipts. Hashtags began forming before the live stream even ended. Insiders later claimed this confrontation had been threatening to surface for years. The ex-husband alleged he was coached on what to say publicly and what to erase privately. He claimed Tamar refused to follow those rules. That statement alone reportedly caused an audible gasp from viewers watching live. Towanda allegedly pushed back, calling the accusations reckless and spiritually dangerous. He responded by claiming spirituality had been weaponized to shut people up. Fans split instantly, some defending Towanda, others resurrecting Tamar's old interviews. Clips from past episodes resurfaced with captions claiming the truth was always there. The ex-husband alleged money was used as leverage inside the family. He claimed debts were disguised as gifts and favors were rewritten as obligations. Towanda shook her head repeatedly, allegedly whispering for him to stop. He continued anyway. He claimed Tamar was punished for speaking plainly instead of spiritually. That line reportedly sent social media into a meltdown. A leaked audio clip surfaced shortly after, unverified but disturbingly specific. The audio allegedly captured a heated argument about financial entanglements and public loyalty. Fans slowed it down, analyzed every breath, and fought over its authenticity. Towanda allegedly accused him of emotional blackmail. He countered by claiming she perfected emotional rewriting. The live stream glitched suddenly, freezing on Towanda's face. Conspiracy theories exploded instantly. When the stream returned, the tension was unmistakably darker. Towanda allegedly warned that releasing more would permanently destroy the family. He replied that the family had already destroyed itself privately. Viewers claimed his tone wasn't angry, but exhausted. That distinction made the accusations hit harder. Celebrity friends began reacting indirectly with cryptic posts and deleted tweets. One industry insider posted, "This was inevitable," before removing it minutes later. Tamar remained publicly silent, which fans interpreted as confirmation. Her silence trended louder than any statement could have. Towanda allegedly insisted Tamar chose distance out of bitterness. Receipts circulating online appeared to contradict that narrative. Fans accused Towanda of rewriting history in real time. The ex-husband alleged contracts existed that were never honored. He claimed promises were made behind closed doors and denied publicly. Towanda allegedly laughed nervously and said people love drama. The chat accused her of deflection. A burner account appeared, posting timestamps and ominous countdowns. Every post hinted at recordings that had not yet dropped. Fans stayed awake refreshing feeds like it was election night. Towanda allegedly ended the live abruptly without explanation. Seconds later, viewers reported being blocked. That move only escalated suspicion. An alleged final text leaked shortly after. Screenshots spread faster than corrections could follow. The internet decided sides before facts could breathe. Tamar's name surged to the top of trending lists worldwide. Old accusations were reframed as warnings ignored. The ex-husband allegedly posted a single word afterward. And in that moment, everyone understood this was not closure. It was ignition. The second wave did not arrive like an explosion because it crept in slowly, patiently, and with far more precision than anyone expected. By the time most people woke up, the internet already felt different, as if the air itself had shifted overnight. Clips from the live stream were no longer being shared for shock value, but for analysis. Fans slowed everything down, isolated facial expressions, replayed pauses, and treated silence like testimony. What once felt emotional now felt strategic. A burner account resurfaced at dawn and posted a single sentence that changed the tone of the entire conversation. Within minutes, a thread followed, laid out like a courtroom exhibit instead of gossip. Each post referenced a public moment, followed by a private contradiction allegedly pulled from messages and calls. Nothing was screamed, nothing was sensationalized. That restraint made it terrifying. Towanda's past interviews began circulating again, but this time fans weren't mocking or defending, they were comparing. Statements about unity were placed beside moments of exclusion. Claims of choice were juxtaposed with alleged receipts suggesting control. The narrative stopped being about a fight and started being about power. Towanda's supporters rushed in to defend her, but their tone had shifted from certainty to urgency. They weren't saying she was right anymore, they were saying it was complicated. The internet hates complicated. An alleged leaked group chat appeared showing people debating whether Tamar should be looped in on certain decisions. The phrasing alone ignited rage. Fans argued that being looped in implied permission, not partnership. The ex-husband remained silent, which somehow made him louder. Speculation spread that legal teams were now involved behind the scenes. Every deleted post became a clue. Every unfollow became evidence. Towanda's silence began to feel deliberate rather than overwhelmed. A short statement was released through a representative emphasizing healing and misinformation. It contained no denials. It contained no specifics. Fans tore it apart line by line. They accused it of sounding like something written to survive, not to tell the truth. A-list celebrities began posting vague messages about boundaries and self-protection. None of them mentioned names. Everyone knew who they were talking about. That like traveled faster than any article. Tamar still said nothing. Her absence became symbolic. Supporters framed it as restraint. Critics framed it as strategy. Either way, it worked. Old footage resurfaced, showing Tamar emotionally exhausted but composed. People began calling her reactions survival instincts instead of drama. Towanda's defenders pushed back, reminding everyone of shared trauma and long family history. They warned against turning pain into villains. The internet responded by turning pain into sides. Another burner account appeared, claiming to be a former insider who watched alliances shift in real time. They alleged support was conditional, not unconditional. They alleged affection depended on compliance. No names were confirmed. Everyone filled in the blanks anyway. Towanda allegedly attempted to shut the account down quietly. The account responded by posting more frequently. Each post felt colder than the last. The ex-husband finally posted again, but not with receipts. He posted a sentence. That line fractured the audience. Some praised the restraint. Others accused him of dragging it out for attention. Reaction channels flooded timelines with thumbnails screaming revelations that hadn't even happened yet. Outrage became content. Content became currency. Towanda's camp allegedly reached out to former allies asking them not to engage publicly. Several of those allies responded by unfollowing. Fans noticed instantly. Digital distance became digital testimony. A leaked audio clip began circulating, quieter and more intimate than previous ones. The voice sounded tired, defensive, and afraid. Listeners argued over whether fear implied guilt or humanity. The ambiguity made everything worse. The conversation had matured into something heavier. Think pieces appeared analyzing family systems and emotional hierarchies. Psychologists weighed in without naming names. Everyone knew exactly who they meant. Tamar finally posted one line. The post shattered engagement records. Fans flooded her comments with apologies for not listening sooner. Towanda's supporters accused the internet of crowning Tamar too quickly. They argued pain existed on all sides. The internet rejected balance and demanded resolution. The transcript implied exclusion was reframed publicly as choice. Fans exploded. Towanda's defenders called it misinterpretation. Critics called it manipulation. The ex-husband posted a countdown clock. No caption. Just numbers ticking down. The clock was set for 24 hours. The internet froze. Fans canceled plans. Reaction channels prepared emergency uploads. Media outlets debated whether to cover it or stay away. Staying away failed. The story was now too big to ignore. Towanda allegedly canceled upcoming appearances without explanation. No interviews, no statements, just absence. That absence spoke louder than anything else. The burner account teased that the next release would not be emotional, it would be factual. That word shifted everything. Fans braced themselves. The countdown ticked louder than any voice. Every minute felt heavier than the last. And everyone watching knew that whatever came next would not ask for forgiveness. It would demand reckoning. The final phase did not begin with noise because by then the audience no longer needed spectacle to feel the weight of what was unfolding. What appeared instead was a calm, almost clinical release that felt designed to drain the drama out of the room. A document folder surfaced without warning, stripped of captions, emojis, or emotional framing. People opened it expecting fireworks, and instead found patterns. There were timelines laid out with unsettling precision. Dates repeated, names reappeared, gaps aligned. Moments of silence coincided with moments of pressure. What chilled viewers was not a single accusation, but the accumulation. Every time a conflict allegedly surfaced, the same sequence followed. First came private conversations, then came spiritual language, then came public reframing, finally came silence. The repetition was impossible to ignore. Social media, once frantic, slowed to a crawl. Reaction channels paused mid-sentence. Comment sections filled with fewer words and longer pauses. People stopped shouting and started thinking. Towanda's camp issued a response within hours, but the tone was noticeably different. Instead of confidence, it leaned on legality. Instead of clarity, it leaned on boundaries. Instead of denial, it leaned on discomfort. The statement emphasized privacy violations and emotional harm. It did not challenge the timeline. That omission became the loudest detail. Fans noticed immediately. Screenshots of the response were annotated, highlighted, and reposted with questions instead of insults. The conversation had shifted from outrage to interrogation. Towanda herself remained silent. That silence did not read as shock anymore. It read as calculation. The ex-husband did not post. His absence felt intentional, as if he believed the material now spoke louder than he ever could. Speculation spread that the release was the final one, not because there was nothing else, but but because nothing else was needed. Industry insiders began speaking anonymously to journalists, confirming quiet disruptions. Meetings were postponed, projects were reconsidered, contracts were labeled pending. No one used dramatic language, they used cautious language. That caution felt heavier than condemnation. Towanda's name faded from trending lists, not because interest vanished, but because consensus formed. Think pieces replaced reaction videos, long-form essays replaced clips. The narrative matured into something more permanent. Writers framed the situation as an example of how control can wear the mask of care. Psychologists discussed emotional hierarchies without naming names. Fans filled in the blanks effortlessly. Towanda's supporters argued the internet had become judge and jury. They pleaded for empathy and warned against mob mentality. Others responded that empathy had been demanded for years without accountability. The divide remained, but it was quieter. Exhaustion replaced excitement. Another alleged insider attempted to insert themselves into the conversation. Their claims were ignored. Audiences no longer wanted new villains. They wanted closure. Late one night, Towanda posted a message that stayed up longer than any previous attempt. The tone was weary. She spoke about pain, misunderstanding, and the cost of visibility. She spoke about loving deeply and being misunderstood deeply. She did not address specifics. She did not reference the documents. The comments reflected the shift. Some offered compassion. Some asked direct questions. Many simply observed. Tamar broke her silence the following day. There were no filters. There was no music. There was no dramatic build-up. She spoke slowly, deliberately, and without visible anger. She said she had spent years questioning her own perception. She said being told you are difficult enough times can make you doubt your sanity. She said silence can feel like peace until it starts costing you pieces of yourself. She did not accuse. She did not name. She did not defend. She said she was choosing clarity over harmony. The video ended without a goodbye. The response was immediate and overwhelming. Support poured in from unexpected places. Former critics apologized publicly. Industry peers praised her restraint. Fans said they finally understood moments they once dismissed. Towanda did not respond. That silence landed differently now. It felt final. The ex-husband returned briefly days later. He posted a single sentence. He wrote that some truths do not explode, they settle. That sentence circulated quietly. There was no frenzy. There was recognition. Media outlets slowly moved on, but the story stayed. It lived in interviews. It lived in references. It lived in how people interpreted past moments. The family dynamic was no longer romanticized. It was contextualized. Fans stopped asking who was right. They started asking why systems protect certain behaviors. Towanda's career did not end. It recalibrated. Opportunities became selective. Audiences became cautious. Tamar's image shifted without rebranding. She was no longer framed as volatile. She was framed as self-preserving. The ex-husband faded into anonymity again. Some called it avoidance. Others called it completion. The scandal stopped producing updates, but it did not disappear. It became a reference point. People cited it in discussions about boundaries. They cited it when talking about power disguised as peace. They cited it when explaining why silence is not always neutral. The most unsettling realization was not what had been revealed. It was how long the patterns had existed before anyone questioned them. It was how easily discomfort had been labeled drama. It was how often accountability had been deferred for harmony. Once the story settled, it could not be unseen. And that permanence was the true ending, not a cancellation, not a redemption, but a reckoning that quietly rewrote how the audience understood everything that came before. If you felt your stomach drop while watching this unfold, you're not alone. This story is still moving, still shifting, and still dangerously unfinished. What happens next depends on who stays watching and who looks away. Every like pushes this conversation further into the light. Every comment keeps the pressure where it belongs. Silence is exactly what allows these stories to disappear quietly. If you've ever felt gaslit, sidelined, or rewritten, this matters. Engaging is not just support, it's visibility. Algorithms don't care about truth unless you force them to. Hit the like button so this doesn't get buried. Comment what stood out to you before the narrative shifts again. Your perspective might be the one others needed to hear. Subscribe now because updates don't come with warnings. When the next piece drops, it will drop fast. and only the people already here will see it in real time. This channel doesn't wait for permission to talk about uncomfortable truths. We follow patterns, not performances. If you leave now, you may miss the moment everything clicks. Notifications aren't optional when stories move like this. Turn them on so you're not catching up late. This isn't background noise content. This is the kind of story that gets rewritten overnight. Stay connected so you're not told what happened later. Be here while it's still happening.